That's the question many Browns fans are asking. Hate everything about you. Why? Why do I love you? Well, folks, the Browns let another one slip away after what looked to be on the cusp of an improbable win. And it went the way of the dodo. Went bye-bye, and just a collapse that we are becoming all too familiar with. The Browns fall 34-20 against the Arizona Cardinals after having a 20-10 lead at the half. Welcome to the Doghouse, your inside look at the Cleveland Browns, brought to you by SportsInteraction.com, your sports betting website for all the major North American sports, NFL, Major League Baseball, hockey, whatever. You can go to SportsInteraction.com/Browns. They have a special Doghouse listener option and bonus for you. They will match up to $200 of your first deposit when you go to sportsinteraction.com/Browns. Matt Florjancic is our Browns insider from WKYC Sports. I'm Andy McNamara. Get us on Twitter at AndyMC81, at Matt Florjancic. Matt, it's I'm not calling it Therapy Monday anymore. We stopped that last week. This one hurts a little bit extra because it looked after two quarters that the Browns had somehow been ready to pull off a miracle, and then halftime adjustments, and it all fell apart.
It looked good for about 28 minutes, and then when the Cardinals marched down the field and kicked the field goal, really should have had a touchdown, but kicked the field goal nonetheless, I kind of felt like the air was starting to come out of the balloon a little bit because, again, it was another opportunity for the defense to step up, and they were unable to do so, and it is who they are. I don't care what Jim O'Neill or Mike Pettin or the players have to say about anything. This is who they are. This isn't who they want to be, but it is who they are, and they have to recognize that there is a difference between the two, and I don't quite yet think that they do, and these delusions of grandeur are just mind-numbingly devastating for fans to continuously hear week after week after week. It's really an insult to their intelligence, and I don't understand why the organization feels the need to continuously insult the fan base that fought to bring this team back and has stood by this team through every single possible thing that could have gone wrong. And then to hear, possible trade rumors going on before the game and players saying, yeah, we heard it. It wasn't much of a distraction, but we still heard it. And everything about this season just stinks, and it's awful, and it just reeks of another dumpster fire headed for God knows what over these last 8 games, really. And, typical Browns, they'll win in the second to last week and cost themselves the first overall pick.
Exactly. Matt, at First Energy Stadium, the Browns returning home, I just felt, watching that game as we saw them implode, that the only thing that made sense to me was the words of legendary NFL coach Vince Lombardi.
What the hell's going on out here?
That's it. That's what I was thinking. What the hell is going on out here? Over and over again. And Matt, you had Paul Kruger after the game. You mentioned the trade rumors. And Joe Thomas stood up there and said, I want to be a Brown. I want to be here when it turns around. Do not want to be traded, et cetera, et cetera. You expect that out of Joe Thomas, which is great. Paul Kruger said, I understand. I want to be a Brown, but I understand the trade rumors because, and I thought this was noteworthy, because of the way I'm being used. And I think that says it all. The defense versus Jim O'Neill and the coaching staff on how they are used. Why they try to accentuate the weaknesses of their players is absolutely beyond me. It's the classic case, Matt, but ramped up times 100 of a defense trying to say, okay, no, this is our system. I don't care what you do. You're going to do it our way, and that usually doesn't work. The Browns, it's a whole new level. They don't even let Paul Kruger do anything that he does well. Draymond Williams, they seem to put these guys in positions of failure. Like, it almost looks like a conspiracy theory at work. It's insane.
The best coaches find the way to accentuate the positives, and I heard this exact same conversation on the radio yesterday on the way home from the game, is that they are putting themselves in positions to accentuate the negatives. Paul Kruger is a pass rusher, and he's an angry one because he's being asked to set an edge and be a run defender. And say he gets cut loose by the Browns before next season and has to hit the free agent market, guess what? His value is next to nothing now because they have misused him. They have taken a defense that had holes in it to start, and they were relying on a career also-ran who's been cut like 5 times by 4 other teams to be the edge-setting linebacker who had more nicknames than he has tackles in the NFL in Scott Solomon. He goes down, so what do? Instead of sliding in someone like a Mingo or like an Orchard at that spot, knowing full well that you can't get good pass rush from those two guys anyway yet because Mingo's too small and Orchard can't find himself, you stick Kruger over there so you take your best pass rusher away.
Baffling.
What the hell are you doing?
Baffling.
You created 2 holes instead of 1. Instead of plugging 1 hole in the boat, you put a bigger one in the boat, and you sank further.
Wow.
Like, you got worse. And it doesn't make any sense because they continuously do it. And it's going to cost pretty much his entire coaching staff their job because Jim O'Neill is stubborn and thinks that he's smart enough to get players to play his way. Well, I'm sorry, but Paul Kruger's been in this league about as long as Jim O'Neill has. And I think Paul Kruger has a pretty good idea after 7 seasons what he can and cannot do to be effective in this league.
Yeah.
And if he says that he can be a pass rusher and occasionally set the edge, but he's not being used in the right way, then I'm going to believe him because this is a man who had 9.5 sacks for a Super Bowl team, and if you look at what he did in the postseason that year, he had 4.5, so he had half of his season total in 3 playoff games, including 2 in the Super Bowl. He set a career high last year with 11 sacks. The man knows how to get after the quarterback, and you're taking him away from doing that and creating 2 holes on a defense that was already Swiss cheese to begin with. It's pathetic. It's disgusting. It's mind-boggling that Jim O'Neill still has a job at this point. And I think when you look at it from a long-term standpoint, if Mike Pettin doesn't let go of Jim O'Neill before the season's end, Mike Pettin might as well just pack up his stuff now.
How good a friend is he?
Truck and drive back to Baltimore. He's going to be out of a job too.
And for Paul Kruger too, Matt, this isn't like a new defensive coordinator came in and tried to get cute. This is the same staff where Paul Kruger got 11 sacks a year ago. That's what's so perplexing about it. This in a second year of a defense under a coaching staff, you're supposed to be better. You're supposed to have more confidence. And we're focusing on Kruger because he's I think probably the most miscast, but you get 0 pressure up front. The run game, again, hey, this is nothing new. They get burned by CJ2K. Chris Johnson, who's having a nice year, 109 yards, 119 total yards on the ground. Not as bad. It actually looks like a success, Matt, compared to previous weeks, giving up 150. But you still let a guy run for you for 109 yards. And then Carson Palmer put up 374 yards. You gave up a 300-plus, almost 400-yard passer, a 100-plus rusher, and a 100-plus receiver with a defense that, to their credit, in that game, Matt, to their credit, did have, 4 turnovers, 4 takeaways, but the offense wasn't able to capitalize.
4 turnovers, and that's actually what helped Chris Johnson to just 109 yards. That total could have been far worse had they not generated those turnovers. Unfortunately, they didn't turn them into points.
No.
It's almost like the defense has to score. When they get up and they force a turnover, the defense has to score to hope to win the game.
Yep.
That's what it's becoming. The defense that can't stop anybody, when they finally do get a turnover, then all of a sudden we decide to run 3 plays, or send Josh McCown back deep and have 0 ability to protect him with an empty formation against a front that's just teeing off on him. The fact that he only got sacked 1 time was sort of a miracle, but he got hit on every single pass.
Oh, sure he did.
So
sure he did.
It's everything that was said to be a strength of this team has become the ultimate weakness. And the scary thing is we're only halfway home.
Yeah.
I don't know how bad it could get, but I have a feeling we're going to find out.
On Thursday. on Thursday. We're going to get into that Cincinnati game since we do the show Monday and Friday, so we'll do a little tee up with the Bengals here. That could get ugly real quick. You're listening to the Doghouse, your inside look at the Cleveland Browns. Andy McNamara alongside Matt Fleur-Jancic from WKYC Sports in Cleveland. The show presented by SportsInteraction.com. So the Browns fall to 2-6, tied with the Baltimore Ravens for last in the AFC North. The Arizona Cardinals march to 6-2 atop of the NFC West. Now, Matt, you mentioned Josh McCown there, and this is starting to really trouble me because if the decision not to play Johnny and take out the Johnny Football Mania for now, if the decision to keep a guy who, if he's not concussed, I don't know what he is, knocked loopy, something on the verge of being concussed the last 2 games because you're stubborn or because you're in a tug of war and every man for themselves situation with the front office with Ray Farmer, that is irresponsible to your team and to Josh McCown as a man and his future health. Because, Matt, listen, Josh McCown might be the toughest man in the world. It kind of reminds me of the Simpsons episode where Homer's defense as a boxer was just getting punched in the head because he could take the most punishment. It didn't translate too well. And for Josh McCown, he ribs, hand, feet, head, everything is beat up. I give him full credit for being the toughest quarterback maybe ever. The bottom line is he keeps losing. And to not play Johnny Manziel, for McCown to have the power to wave Johnny back to the sideline after keeling over after almost every play is inexcusable from that coaching staff. Like, because McCown's not going to pull himself out as a competitor. I get that. But that's where the coaches have to come in and say, you're not right. You are not well right now. Have a seat.
They have to have the discretion to do it because Josh isn't going to do it.
No,
and
I don't blame
even
him.
Travis Benjamin was calling to the sideline saying, this man is legitimately hurt. What the hell are you doing?
Wow.
And Travis doesn't say much to anybody. So for him to, be aware and look at McCown, look in his eyes and realize that the man isn't right, I don't understand how the doctors or the trainers on the sideline or even the observers in the booth, how they can just watch a man take this much punishment, get rolled over on, and just say, yeah, he's cool, he keeps getting up. Dude, this isn't Rocky. This isn't boxing where he has to keep getting up, otherwise he loses the fight.
No.
This man is legitimately hurt, and you're going to try to run him against a Cincinnati defense that, oh, by the way, is pissed off at what you did to him last year.
Oh,
and
boy.
and you're going to try to run him on 3 days rest. I can't even begin to describe how irresponsible it is of this coaching staff and this regime to sit there and run a guy out there like Josh McCown to basically get destroyed.
Yeah.
You have to look at a quality of life issue. This guy is 36 years old. His body, I don't care how many games he has or hasn't played, his body can only take so much punishment. And the Browns are dead set on getting every last ounce of punishment out of Josh McCown before they pull the plug on him.
Oh.
And it's really it's disturbing to watch. And it's aggravating because you know what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
You know that it has nothing to do with football at this point. It has everything to do with guys trying to hedge their bets and save their jobs. And it's really pathetic. It's disgusting to watch. Ray Farmer, you can say all the things you want about his ability to draft players and to bring in talent. He did find the toughest son of a gun in the valley to come be the quarterback for this team. I will give him that.
He won't win you a game, but he'll be able to physically stay in.
But I don't understand why Jimmy Haslam hasn't just said, you know what, I had this retreat where I told the president to stop watching film and focus on business. I told the GM to stop coaching the team and focus on picking players. And I told the coach to coach the team rather than worry about going after players. And yet I see this.
Yeah.
What is going on? We spent a first-round draft pick on Johnny Manziel. He can't play over a quarterback who has gotten destroyed. You spent a first-round pick on Justin Gilbert. He can't play